On reflection, and having this sort of worked with these mentors, I think at the beginning I should have hired a senior management team around me. And I think quite often you can think, oh, I'll get more junior staff. But what that did was leave a lot of reliance on me to deliver. And actually, businesses that have a good senior management team who can lead the sales team and the delivery team and everything else, like business partnerships, tend to be more successful than one-man bands by themselves. When you have a child and you meet lots of mums and they just are really struggling to find jobs, they've lost their career, they've lost their self-identity, they feel that their only option is to take a low-paid job that doesn't really use all their skills. Now, they might want that, absolutely, if that's what they want, but the problem is they don't know what else is available. I just really wanted to inspire other mums that there was career opportunities out there for them and they could work flexibly, they could earn well, and it's easy to know how when you do the right training.
Hi, I'm your host Chris Matthews and you're listening to the Mentor Collective podcast. Conversations that resonate, stories that inspire. In each episode, I'm joined by a guest. We explore their personal stories, the challenges and triumphs which have shaped them, and the invaluable lessons learnt along the way. Join us as we navigate through 4 key themes: career journey and reflections, personal and holistic approach, leadership and values, and finally, mentorship, guiding and being guided. In each theme, we traverse the past, present, and future, unraveling the unique narratives of our guests. Welcome to the Mentor Collective podcast. So Heather, thank you so much for joining me on the Mentor Collective podcast. Would you mind giving a little bit of an introduction to yourself, please?
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name's Heather Black. I currently run a company called Supermums that helps women launch and accelerate their careers within the Salesforce sector. Really passionate about personal development, professional development, helping people achieve their potential. It's been a theme throughout all of my career, which I'm sure we'll delve into today. And really started out my career from university looking at how I was passionate about economic development, which really is looking at how you can support people to launch their own businesses and get into employment. So it's been a theme, shall we say, throughout, and I've done that in various ways and benefited from a lot of different mentors and coaches that have helped me on this journey. So really love helping people every day to relaunch their career, achieve their life ambitions, feel like they've got the work-life balance, and it's very rewarding.
Well, then let's dive into the first theme of our 4, which is career journey and reflections. With the obvious question, how did you get to where you are today? And you're welcome to go as far back as you want to.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? You never know what day, you can wake up in the morning and never know that something in that day might pivot you for the rest of your life. That's what you love. He's like, you talk about having a career plan and sort of planning all out. But I would never have imagined I would be here doing what I'm doing now, like 18 years ago, quite frankly. And I think that's the beauty of, to some degree, going with the flow and sort of everyday learning and listening and leaning into things, because the more we learn, the more we open our eyes to the possibility of something else we could be doing. And I think life now is very different to we have a career for life. I think we will transition, have various different job roles and opportunities. And it's really important to embrace that and not be scared of it and to think about how we can pivot. So at university, or before uni, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, let's face it. I think there's a lot of people that can share that story. And it was a lecture one day that was all around what is social entrepreneurship. And this was probably 1999 to be fair. So it was just in my last year of uni. And that was the pivotal moment for me. I was like, wow, okay, we can run a business that has a social mission and purpose at its heart. Okay, that's me. And the reason that resonated with me is I'd always made things and sold them for charity and run like board games and competitions at school and fundraised. And for me, it was about running a little business, almost like making the stuff and selling it to make an impact. I wasn't like the person that would go and do a fun run or something. I liked the whole sort of, I suppose, the business side of it really as well. And I was like, okay, I can run a business with a social purpose. Like social entrepreneurship is where I'm going to be and what I'll do. So I sort of leaned into that, but I went and did a master's in economic development. And with economic development, it's all about economic prosperity for people. So it was about looking at strategies for supporting people into employment, strategies for business growth and startup growth in the UK, also redevelopment of cities and towns to make them more economic buoyant, and learnt loads during that. But I did my master's thesis on social entrepreneurship, and at the time in 2001, it was a new concept in the UK. It was getting a lot of attention. The government designed their first strategy around social enterprise. And so I kind of really wanted to carve out a bit of a niche for myself in learning more about social enterprise first before, I suppose, having one of my own. So I took a research role. So I was an economic development consultant, and I had the opportunity to research and help shape and evaluate support for social enterprises. So I got the opportunity to go and interview lots of social enterprises, learn about what they were doing, what challenges they were facing, what support they needed. And equally with that, I also did research around helping people into employment, because a lot of social enterprises do, a bit like Supermums. Supermums is a social enterprise. A lot of social enterprises will sell something, but also with the intended benefit to help people economically somehow. So like get into jobs or sort of support them with their business. So I had also the benefit of really leaning in and learning about helping people into employment and business support. So I researched a lot, but got paid for it, and then launched my own social enterprise to help young professionals aged 18 to 30 launch businesses back in 2006. And it was during that time, running that social enterprise for young professionals, that I started using Salesforce to manage my organisation. And it really helped me grow my nonprofit. We went from 100k to 1.4 million in a year. And we went and supported 10,000 young professionals over the course of me running it. And I had 40 coaches. And I was only aged 26 at the time. So, but over the years, it was sort of a fast learning track in my 20s of running a business. But Salesforce as a CRM system helped me manage all of our stakeholders, helped me have compliance, helped me track our impact, and that helped me win more contracts, which led to our success. So my introduction to technology started then, and I realised that I could customise Salesforce through clicks, not code. It was something that was achievable for me, never done anything like this before. But because it had helped my nonprofit so much, I became passionate about helping other nonprofits understand the value. And then that led me to pivot to become a Salesforce consultant when my child was born, and I handed over the other social enterprise to another organisation. And that's when I launched my Salesforce career. And at the point I was like, can I do this? I've never really worked with tech before, but I leaned in, I invested in training. I did all the training that I felt that I would need to be good at this job. Then negotiated, could get full 50-day rates, working on contracts, working 3 days a week with a newborn child. And after doing that for 4 years, that's when I launched Supermums, because I realised that we needed more women into the sector. We needed generally more talent, and launched Supermums to help attract more women into the sector. So that's where I've got to today. So it's just interesting how things just come into your path and how you learn on that journey.
Jeez, wow. It's great as well that you can summarize your whole career and your whole life in such a succinct way. Thank you so much for that. So many questions I want to ask you. I think that the first one is more of a kind of general question, but it feels like there's always a pull and a bit of a kind of friendly rivalry between the idea of a business making profit and doing good for the community and doing good for people. And less so, I think, in social enterprise, I guess, right, where those two go hand in hand, and you're demonstrating how that can benefit people and benefit the people that are making it happen as well, right? Because we can't always be servants. We need to do something and generate value for ourselves. For companies that maybe want to become more socially focused, what would you advise them to do to kind of become a bit more socially focused and socially aware, as opposed to just being about profit for themselves?
So with the research that I did around social enterprise, it was very evident that actually there's 9 different legal structures you can have as a social enterprise, right? It's not one size fits all, and some of those have different asset locks for profit than others do. But what blatantly is obvious is that organisations that can make profit and can get more investment have a bigger social impact because they can grow and scale at a level that other social enterprises that are set up with an asset lock and a profit lock can't. And actually, a lot of the social enterprises that you thought were, they were amazing, but they unfortunately folded because they didn't have the money to grow and scale like an investment company, a company that had investment would be able to do. So it's very important, if you want to maximize your impact, is to set up a business that's actually ultimately going to be profitable, that people are going to invest in to help you scale. But you're also very clear about your social aims and objectives, so it's visible to everybody equally. So we do have at Supermums like the foundation side, the non-profit side where money is reinvested for the purpose of supporting women to get back into work. But equally, we have a side that is the recruitment side. So if we place one of the trainees into work and we're charging the business, that's inevitably where the profit will be made and where it's more investable. But that allows the whole model to be sustainable. So you've got to have a profitable side to an organisation to grow. It's very different. A social enterprise is different to a charity. A charity will be dependent on funds and donations to do what they do, but inevitably a charity will work with the most vulnerable groups, and we'll be able to attract a certain level of donations and fundings. And you always say the donkey sanctuaries are the ones that get the most money, right? It's animals and fluffy things. So my first social enterprise, which was called Striding Out, that supported young professionals aged 18 to 30 to get coaching, we benefited from a lot of government funding, but then government funding disappeared when the party changed. And so literally I did lose that business overnight with the change of political parties. I tried for 2 years to keep it going, but it wasn't available. So when I launched Supermums as my second, well, it's actually my third social enterprise, because my Salesforce consultancy was the second. With the third, I set it up with an investment vehicle. And I lost my second social enterprise because it was an asset lock and I couldn't get investment. I couldn't grow it. I couldn't scale it in the same that other companies could. So with my Salesforce consultancy, it was non-profit focused. It was a non-profit vehicle, but I couldn't get investment to grow it. And so we were constantly reliant on debt finance. Wasn't enough to scale. So you end up not achieving an impact if it's only focused on all profit must be retained and reinvested, and you can't get big amounts of investment. If you are reliant on debt finance, you won't grow business at the same scale that competitors will. So it's been, it's a fascinating topic, and I think people who are, who aren't in this world and have done the research like I've done won't know this, and people can make judgments and assessments on things. But I think it's how you articulate what you do and why you do it. And obviously it's about that visibility and transparency. So if people ask, you can say, well, this is how it works in practice. And they go, okay, right, I get it now. So hopefully, through explaining that, people will understand, okay, I get it. So yes, you can get money in. Yes, there's going to be a dividend back to that person because they're putting in. But overall, if you can, you can expand your mission and your impact tenfold, and your impact is better tenfold, it's better than staying at a onefold without the investment.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this conversation is that I've never really considered, I suppose I've never really been aware of the term social enterprise. I'm kind of used to either charity or business. And hearing you talk about this middle ground of going out with a specific purpose and there being money to fund that and to make that happen. And, it was almost like the social impact is the product kind of idea. Would that be fair to say in a social enterprise? Like the impact is the product?
It can and can't. It can and can't be. So, like, a social enterprise could be selling furniture, but the people making furniture are ex-offenders.
Right. You gave a little bit of insight into, you had a child, you took a day rate, you were 3 days a week. And then you realize, oh, there might be something else out there that, maybe this is something that I can do as a social enterprise. Could you expand a little bit there on what was happening to you and then why you decided to really go all out into Supermums?
Oh, I think I've got the problem with this entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know. And I don't get it from mum and dad were both self-employed, not with big grandiose ideas or branding or plans. Like, I'm very different to them. I do wonder if I was adopted at some point, but they've both passed away now, so I still can't press them on that point. But they were very self-employed and hardworking. But certainly I have a different spirit in terms of, I suppose, my vision and growth and putting myself out there that I can't doesn't resonate with anybody in my family at all, quite frankly. So I don't know where it comes from. And I did speak to, talking about, I suppose, guidance, and it was from looking at whether it's almost in your ancestry from other spirits, and some listeners might be in that and some others, but I said to somebody, a health practitioner that the healing practitioner I was working with, I was, because she could see your ancestries, and I was like, where does this come from? Maybe it's like a pre-life. Maybe I'm getting this from somewhere else. So I think because I'm very passionate about helping people and making changes, and I suppose I went on a journey of being a self-employed consultant, working by myself and at home. But then I was getting more work than I could manage, right? And so this flexibility, and then you're like, oh, what do I do? Do I give it away? Do I, turn it down, which obviously is hard to do? And then I thought, well, do I join a consultancy? Or do I grow a consultancy? So that's led me on the journey of growing another business effectively. And with that, then you start to wear lots of different hats to the point that you're then not in the game almost every day with customers. So, I ended up really being on the sales side and, marketing and sales side of it rather than hands-on delivery. And so, to be fair, that probably suited me at the time. I mean, I had another child, so you're kind of going through this evolution. But, with that comes lots of challenges of, obviously managing cash flow, making sure you're winning work, checking all the team and delivering to a certain level of quality. And, I will never sort of change what happened, but obviously it was a very interesting learning journey. And I had, on reflection of mentors, I worked with two great mentors who'd grown and sold their consultancies. And it was great because they came in, they looked at everything we were doing. They were like, you're doing everything right, but it is really hard work. Like, it is hard work to grow. And they said, to be fair, if you haven't got an offshore team, it's never going to be profitable. If you're not over 20 members of staff, you're never going to be profitable. And yeah, if you don't have somebody managing Salesforce alliances, you're really going to struggle to get work when have that partnership with them. And in hindsight, when I managed to get some initial debt finance for growing the consultancy because I'd secured some client work.
What is debt finance? Because you've mentioned that covers it.
Yeah, a loan. So you get the money and then you repay it back monthly. So I'd had 140k's worth of loan finance put into the business, but because I'd secured work, which had to be paid back on 5k a month. So that was at the outset of the consultancy, and I think what I, on reflection, and having this sort of worked with these mentors, I think at the beginning I should have hired a senior management team around me. And I think quite often you can think, oh, I'll get more junior staff, but what that did was leave a lot of reliance on me to deliver. And actually, I think there is research out there, and given my background, I should be able to quote it. But businesses that have a good senior management team who can lead the sales team and the delivery team and everything else, like business partnerships, tend to be more successful than one-man bands by themselves. You've got to get that partnership right, and absolutely you need a business coach or a mentor to facilitate that business partnership, to be the middleman, particularly if there's disagreements and stuff. So again, having that benefit of a mentor and a facilitator for a business partnership is really important. But that's where I wish I'd changed. And also having it, because it was not a complete non-profit, People valued that, but to be honest, it didn't make a difference whether we won the work or not. And because I couldn't get investment or even merge it with another company because it wasn't saleable in that way, it then obviously became something that had limited ability to grow. So there was lots of learning from that, but with Supermums, that spun out as a separate independent vehicle, and that was partly because after 3 years and it was growing steadily, Salesforce had me on stage and gave me my golden hoodie, which is like a big, for those not in the Salesforce world, it's just really a recognition of people doing good stuff in the world of Salesforce and giving back. And that really helped us grow Supermums as a separate business in its own right, and we could attract sponsors and engagement and grow our community and offering. I hope that answers your question.
And that's a great summary of how you got to Supermums. I guess the question is, why mums? Like, what happened to you personally that made you think, mums, that's what I need to focus on?
Because when you have a child and you meet lots of mums and they just are really struggling to find jobs, they've lost their career, they've lost their self-identity, they feel that their only option is to take a low-paid job that doesn't really use all their skills. Now they might want that, absolutely, if that's what they want, but the problem is they don't know what else is available, and there's lots of sales roles that you can do. Like you can have a franchise in this, or you can sell Body Shop products as was, or Avon and things. There's lots of roles, lots of job opportunities that quite often are sales related. I'm running little businesses, but you have to sell to all your friends and everything, and not people always don't want to do that, right? I've done that. I was a Virgin V makeup artist, and then I was like trying to flog it to all my friends and my mum's friends, and it's just a bit tiresome. And I was like, this is a job that other mums could do that isn't a sales role, that is like almost like cleaning a house. I like to think about it as cleaning and sorting and tidying systems and data. So I just really wanted to inspire other mums that there was career opportunities out there for them, and they could work flexibly, they could earn well, and it was easy, I say easy, it's easy to train up if you know how and you do the right training.
I guess, how do you, I guess there's like two parts really. How do you reach mums, and how do mums reach you and find Supermums?
Lot of networking online. So the posts that make the biggest impact and I suppose engage with people are more personal posts. Posts about parts of where either our alumni have been or team members sharing their story. So I'm a single parent now, so sharing the challenge about being a single parent and having that challenge of having a house that you've got to pay for all by yourself, and everything resonates with people. And it's the number of people that have gone through our course in the same position is quite significant, and they're doing this to get their life on track. So we're telling that story with complete authenticity, that actually this can help you. It's not a scam or anything else. It's actually this helps people relaunch their career after 20 years out of work, after getting divorced and having to get back on the career ladder and find their feet again, getting out of a job that's not paying them anything, or having to work evenings and weekends, and actually they want something they can do during the day, during the school hours. With every story of people that have been through our course and got a job, there's a heartfelt story behind it about why they've done this, because they needed to change their life. Lynn doesn't want to commute 3 hours a day. Now she can work from home. So it's telling all those stories that resonate with people through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through Instagram. 60% of our customers or trainees come through word of mouth and recommendation anyway. So it's people telling people about what we do, telling them about careers in Salesforce, recommending Supermums to them. So, that's where we are 7 years on into our journey, is, we just keep echoing the messages, and then people tell that story to other people.
I'm going to change gear a little bit now. So you mentioned a bit before about in your mid-20s you had striding out, and your business went from 100K to 1.4 million. A big part of that reason was for Salesforce, so starting to work much more closely with Salesforce, and that's what propelled you on your journey with Salesforce to where you are today. when you and I have talked prior to this, we've spoken a little bit about mental health and the importance of resilience, and I think that's a big part of what Supermums does for people as well, based on what I think we've spoken about. I guess when you went from 100K to 1.4 million, that's a massive number in under a year. That's a lot of growth happening at one time, which I guess to people listening might feel already overwhelmed themselves, even though they're not part of that journey. Did that present any challenges for you personally and kind of mentally with suddenly this big jump? And if it did, how did you deal with that at the time? And when you look back?
Yeah, it's a bit of a whirlwind, really. I mean, I had put myself on various business, entrepreneurship, leadership training courses at that time. And as part of that journey, I'd also done coaching courses. So I'd trained up in coaching. So I'd spent £4,500 on coaching training. So NLP, practitioner course, and coaching skills 1 and 2 from City University. And so I was able to coach myself, quite a lot, because the business was about coaching other people. So all those tools you have in your own toolbox, right, to kind of keep yourself and your own mental health key. And I always say coaching is part and parcel, I think, of what we do with Supermums now as well. It's just staple resilience tools that you can use every day in your own toolbox to sort your head out and look at things objectively. You do need somebody to do that with you sometimes. It depends where you are. But coaching has always been a pillar for me, and obviously investing in that. And then I did entrepreneurship training that helped look at all the different business facets, like from marketing to finance and everything else. And I also did a women leadership course that I've been on, which is all about leadership skills and everything else. So, in my 20s, I was trying to package myself with all these skills and techniques. I also did an entrepreneurship course at Kingston Uni. So I was doing quite a lot of training and networking, and obviously learning from experts in this. So I didn't go into it and go, right, I'm just going to crack on and I'll know what I'm doing. I literally packaged like all this training around me. And then my mum came and worked with me as a bookkeeper. So she was able to really keep on top of all the financial pieces. And she's a hustler, right? So if people aren't paying or whatever, she'd be getting on the phone and sorting it out. I'm not that skill set. So, it became then a family business, right? So mum came on board and was working in that element. And then we hired senior managers, but also as part of the social enterprise niche and working with young people, we did hire quite a few young people as well on it. And that did present some challenges. And it's very, very evident of social enterprise, because as I mentioned before, social enterprises, Jamie Oliver's 15 restaurant is a social enterprise, right? They have a restaurant, but then they'll hire, again, ex-offenders or different people into roles. With social enterprises, you tend to work and support disaffected groups, or everybody's got different disadvantages, I suppose, to getting back into the workplace. That tends to be one of the components of it. And with that came challenges, and that we had all our computers stolen from the office in Birmingham. So there was that element to it. And then people didn't show up for work because they, and then you're busy calling them every day. So as you're growing this organization, on one hand, you want like an amazing superstar team. Obviously, on the other hand, you want to do good and bring people in and nurture and support them. And I think balancing those things is really hard. And that's one of the things where social enterprises really do struggle with that combination, because you are working with groups that need additional support and resources and pastoral care sometimes, and you're trying to balance that with running a business that is profitable, that has a high performing team. So you've got those combinations. So it certainly was a journey. I think because we're a coaching organisation, there was a lot of investment, and I suppose we always wanted to sort of support each other and lean in and learn, but with that came its challenges. I set it up as a franchise model. So the coaches that joined, and that was fascinating, learning all about franchising. So the coaches that joined the model were all franchisees effectively, and that they were self-employed, but they could operate under the brand of Striding Out in their localities. So that allowed us to expand across the country, because we had that local presence. We didn't have to employ the coaches. They would deliver and engage with the clients, deliver the work, and then invoice for the work they'd done. So it's really fascinating over that time, just investing in all this training. And the guy that taught me for franchising was the guy that had led franchising for KFC. So I know so much about that model. I just love learning from these people. It's so fascinating. So I do just, package myself with the right support people around me.
So you're saying that you didn't really have any sort of challenging and mental health stuff in relation to the growth because you had already done quite a lot of learning and prep up front.
So I think, well, it's not just up front, it's all the way through. So I always continue to invest in training, coaching, and mentoring around me to maintain my mental health. Because if I don't know something, I feel worried. I'm like, I need to go to somebody to get help. Like I will find help rather than sit there and wallow. I'm a problem solver. I like solutions to problems, so I go find somebody that can solve my problem or teach me something.
I guess the one thing that is really interesting, you said it once before about how there is research out there that says that people who start a company together that have different skill sets, generally that company will be more successful than just one person starting up, and specifically when it comes to consultancy. And you were talking about having one mentor in the middle to kind of bring everyone together. And we're kind of again coming back to this sort of idea of reaching out and making sure there are other skill sets available to you. And I think that sometimes people feel when they're starting a business that it's got to be their own, that they have to do it on their own. Like if I can't make it on my own, then how am I ever going to make it, kind of thing. But what I'm hearing loud and clear from you is that it's not a kind of it's not giving up by going and asking someone for help, or even it's not asking, it's paying. That there is real value in that, and actually it's more of a business decision. So I guess how have you kind of come to that mentality where I think other people might see that as, if they were deciding for themselves, oh, I need to go and pay a consultant to tell me how to do something, they might see that as an admission of failure.
Oh, I have the perfect answer for that. So back in 2008 or 9 it was, I went to a big training event. It was at Crystal Palace with a guy called Roger Hamilton, and he teaches the talent dynamics model. And that was the light bulb moment for me, because I've been running the business like 3 years, and I was feeling this feeling of like never feeling good enough and trying to wear all those hats, right? And going, oh, I just feel like I'm dropping balls. Like I can't be everything to every person. And what was so amazing about that training with Roger Hamilton is with this talent dynamics model, it looks at all the roles you need in a business. So there's, I can't remember now, like 8 roles. And as a person, you will generally have one or two of those areas that are your zones of genius. And so with that, I understood where my zones of genius were. So in this talent dynamics model, I'm a creator star mechanic. So I'm a creator, I like creating the ideas. I'm a star because I like marketing it and talking about it and the marketing essence of it. I'm a mechanic because I'm anal about processes and systems, hence probably why I enjoyed Salesforce. So that's where I tend to sort of strive. But those other roles, which is people management, sales, negotiation, financial management, are not. I can do them, but they're not my strengths. And so you need to hire people in all of those areas, and ideally senior people initially who then manage people below you. So if you think about HR, you'd have somebody who's the people manager, and then underneath that you've got your sales team, but again you need your sales leader who's going to lead that sales team, and then finance, you need a good finance manager who's going to manage your finance, and then obviously have a team below that. So that was pivotal for me. And that's how I've always run my businesses now, is to make sure I've got the right people around me in the right places.
I like also how in your answer there's kind of no acceptance that at any point might there be a failure there, or that it's, and I'm certainly not suggesting that it is a failure, but I can completely see how people, and I've thought this myself, I need to learn how to do that thing that I'm not good at, and I need to go and do it. And I guess some people might need that if they don't have the cash to bring someone else in. But I really like the business decision to do something rather than I don't know what to do, I'm just going to go bring someone else in. So thank you for sharing that. The one thing which I'm really hearing loud and clear from you about mentorship is the importance of networking and finding those mentors through the network. And it sounds like that you've had some coaches and you've had some trainers, and then you've had mentors and people that you've just kind of found that have contributed to your journey. I guess there's probably a few questions in here. I guess how important would you say that networking is when it comes to finding mentors?
So have I found mentors? I think they've happened. The people that I've met, and then I've seen what they're doing, and it's just been timely that I've gone, oh, actually, that's what I need to learn. So I'll also ask people to say, can you recommend somebody that is great at this or great at that? Short of really researching for people. So with Supermums, I've worked with a mentor called Shah Wasmond over the last 5-6 years. And everything that she's talking about and sharing, at different points over the last 5 years has been very spot on and timely to what I'm needing to learn. She's great at giving you a kick up the bum as well and keeping you accountable, but also, when you've got those moments of overwhelm and, needing to sort of figure out, okay, what do I do next and where do I focus my time? She just says it's like it is, and that's what you need. You don't need somebody that's just giving you advice, but somebody also that is just there for you at any point in time to go, right, let's just sit down and talk that through and then figure out the solution. I just like people that just are in your corner. But also she's got, her little black book. She's got experts. She's been in business for years. She's got a lot of knowledge to bring to it. So that's where I invest my time in mentoring with Supermums over the last 5 years. But alongside that, I've added in, various other training that I've needed around other things. But as an entrepreneurial leader, that's been the focus really. Going back to where I found Shah, I actually met Shah back in 2006 when I launched Striding Out, because she was a young entrepreneur. She, was in that network. So I'd known her for quite a few years. And so, I think it's just the case of, build your network. And I've got nearly 28,000 followers on LinkedIn now, which is, has grown because of, launching a business and networking since 2006. So, you never lose contact with these people. It's always about networking. Always ask for help, ask for recommendations, lean in. If you've got a problem, don't sit on it and try and figure out yourself. Ask for help, and that's what I'm a big fan of. And I will invest in it. You might get it for free, absolutely, and that can be great. But also, you have to spend money to make money equally as well. And that money can be well spent because you're learning and developing yourself.
So you've clearly done a lot, and you've met a lot of incredible people, KFC, Shaw, all these people that have contributed to where you are today, paid for or voluntary, which is just beautiful. I wonder, one of the things I talk about on these Mentor Collective podcasts is the idea of a negative mentor, which is where you see someone do something and you think, I will never do that. I've learned so much from how poorly that went or how it was, how it was portrayed. And then there are positive mentors who are people that you see demonstrate behaviors that you want to follow. And then, of course, there's like direct mentoring when someone says, hey, Heather, you need to do this or whatever, shape up or something. Are there any key mentor moments in your life that kind of spring to mind whenever you think about being a good mentor or something that really shaped you?
Yeah. Or being a good mentor or bad mentor. I think it's interesting because when I've sometimes brought in experts, they've not spent enough time understanding the context, I suppose, my outcomes that I want. And, I've just gone ahead with an approach and expertise and delivery, even with my team, that actually I wouldn't have, wanted to roll out that way. So I think sometimes it's important as a mentor, if you are mentoring people or training people, that you really do the groundwork with the person that's paying your time and understanding what they want and the outcomes they want, so you have a really clear strategy that is going to roll out, because otherwise it can be quite damaging, particularly if your team's involved in a certain way. It can really not go to plan. So I think it's always have a chemistry check session. See how much they listen to you and understand it and recite back and can propose solutions before you commit to it. And that's what I look for. If I'm going for a mentor, I'm more interested in somebody that's listening to me and then gives me really good solid recommendations back. And that's who I'll choose, as opposed to somebody that's just reeling off everything they've done, throwing advice at me left, right, and centre, sort of got their own agenda, really. And, that's the difference. And the former one you might, say, more pay for, because effectively, a coach versus a mentor is the conversation. I was actually talking about this last night presenting on a user group. Somebody who's a combination of the two is really good. Like, a really good mentor will have coaching skills and be able to listen and question as much as they give advice. Whereas sometimes a mentor who doesn't have any coaching skills will just impart advice without really understanding, the right approach. So I do look for somebody that's got that powerful combination of coaching and mentoring, and have typically probably invested in coaching skills, because you have to pay quite a lot of money for that. But that's what makes them the best combination of person that can help you.
Well, you've spoken a couple of times about investing in skills and growing your own skills in leadership training, entrepreneurship training. So I think these days there are so many courses, and every day there's twice as many courses as there was yesterday. And we've spoken quite a lot about leadership training, entrepreneurship training, and understanding the world of business, and how that opened up your understanding of what you can even do, as well as what's legally possible and feasible. I guess if you were talking to someone now as a mentor, and I know you've just said it's most of it is about listening to what they want to achieve, but if there was a kind of general piece of advice to someone either starting a social enterprise or looking to be more entrepreneurial, what would your kind of general advice be, and would it be kind of course related?
I think find somebody who has worked in a similar industry to your own. So, for example, last year we started working with an accountancy firm that specialises in recruitment companies, because they can help us model and share advice from other recruitment companies they've worked with. We hadn't done that before, to be fair, and it was one of those, like, oh, why didn't we do that before? So I think find experts that have worked in your industry before and work with them and seek advice, because they will share a lot of best practice, lessons learnt, rather than generic. I think if I was reflecting back on all my learning, it's, zone in on your niche.
So Heather, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. As we close today, what do you hope the people listening today take away from our conversation?
I think the most important reflection is, just how much I lean into training, coaching, mentoring, throughout the journey that I've had, and how that has supported me, where I've felt times where I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not very good at this. I've always leaned in and found somebody who can help. And I've had people say, why are you investing money in that training? Don't be silly. But actually, for me, that's really, really important to build my confidence in something. And as you mentioned, Chris, I think you either have to lean in and learn it yourself, and you may or may not do it yourself, but it's really good to know what's expected. Particularly if you're going to hire somebody, you want to know what they're going to deliver on and what's good. So I think there's always value to learning things, even if you then don't do it yourself, but then you want to hire somebody that's going to do that role in. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself, to boost your confidence, your skills, your capabilities, support your mental health. I think, personal and professional development is essential. So go for it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Mentor Collective podcast. If you enjoyed it, you're welcome to subscribe. You're also welcome to go to our website, thementorcollective.net, to find out about the other good work we do in mentorship. Wherever you are, I hope you have a great rest of your day.